Good morning, everybody. Wow, that went far smoother than I thought it was going to be. But welcome to the live stream here, where I will be talking about the youth ministry playbook, and we're going to talk about that here. Let's see. Let me introduce myself very quickly. I'm Paul Turner from thediscipleproject.net. So glad to be with you. And I'm excited to be talking to you about this great product here called the Youth Ministry Playbook 2022. And so we're going to do just a kind of a run through of what is all included in here and why this is going to be so valuable to you as a youth pastor, whether you're a volunteer, bivocational, it doesn't matter, full-time. Something like this is super important to youth workers, because listen, I know that youth workers, and look, I was a youth pastor for 30 years, and I understand that there's passion. You have that when you're young, a lot of times, right? You have passion, but you don't have as much knowledge. So you're busy going full bore. You're just going full ahead, and you don't have all the tools you need. Especially if it's your first time in youth ministry, you don't have all the tools you need. And I thought, man, we need a resource like this for youth workers, no matter your age, no matter how long you've been doing youth ministry, because even as you get older and you say, look, you have a lot of knowledge, maybe not as much passion, but you tend to forget things. Let's be honest. You just tend to forget that there's some things you need to be checking up on. But I want to welcome you guys again. We're leaving a little bit of time here for people to come in here. If you are here, and I see that there's a few of you here, let me know where you're from. I would love to know where you are watching from. Give me a state or the name of your youth ministry, whatever you want to give. But I'd be interested to know where you are watching from, because I'm just interested. I like to know where my audience is coming from. And I'm excited about just talking with youth workers today. And if you have questions, by the way, at any point during the discussion, go ahead and just hit them in the comments section there. I will see them. I'm watching them right over here, and I will do my best to answer your questions. So let's go ahead. And I am just drinking a lot of coffee this morning. Let's be honest. I just need it. Is anybody else needing some coffee this morning? Because I am. I was up late last night working on this. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about kind of the two extremes here, if you will, of youth ministry calendars. And I'm a big proponent. You're going to hear me talk a lot today about organization, why this is important, why having a tool like this is going to be important for you as a youth worker. Because let me tell you what, youth pastors, not really known for being organizational, giants in their field. And I just feel like organization is the way you organize your youth ministry and the boundaries you set around it through organization allows you to be more creative, not less creative. And some of you may be, well, hey, Jonathan, good to see you from Israel this morning. That the boundaries you create around your youth ministry, some people may see them as blocking creativity, and I see it as it gives you the boundaries to create even more, because you've set parameters. You've set the agenda through how you organize something to be more creative. And so that's what the Youth Ministry Playbook is going to do. It's going to give you a sense of organization, whereas now, I don't know about you if you buy planners or not, right? The world is flush with planners. And you say, I'm going to get a new planner because I got to write my plans down. But so many times, youth workers maybe don't know what to plan. And that's why I call it a playbook. It's a big difference between a planner and a playbook, because a planner means you have to come up with all the ideas. You have to do everything. You have to come up with everything. But in a playbook, like I'm giving you here, you're going to have ideas, and we're going to go through it, why it's a playbook and not just a bunch of blank sheets. I would not dare to presume to sell a youth worker or anybody something with a bunch of blank sheets without value to it, because in this, you're going to get articles, worksheets, things you're going to need as a youth pastor, regardless of your age, regardless of how long you've been in youth ministry, They're critical points of information. Some of you have forgotten, maybe, if you've doing it for a while, and some of you have not yet learned it yet, and that's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you. That's why I'm here. Okay, so let's take a look at two different kinds of calendars. Have you seen this calendar? This calendar here, and once again, I have had both of these kinds of calendars. So this particular calendar here, as you can see, is a hot mess. You can go in youth ministry from having this kind of calendar to saying, oh, I'm just going to throw everything up there. I got to have an event every week. I got to have something going on all the time to justify my salary or to, prove that I'm worthy. And so in having this kind of calendar, that just gives me stress now. That would, if I was a youth pastor right now, that would be like, what are we doing? We have no clue what we're doing there. And then, I don't know, you tell me, have you had a calendar like this? Because I know I have, and I've had to, adjust because I thought, once again, I had to have things going all the time. And you don't have to have everything going all the time. It's perfectly okay. You don't have to do that. Now, the other calendar you have is this, and it is a blank calendar. And sometimes you sit there and you just stare at it. I don't know if you've ever done this. I have, where you just stare at it and go, I have no idea what to put on this calendar. I have no idea what these kids want. I have no idea. And I see it all the time in groups and things like that. And I go, there's people say, I don't know what to plan. I don't know what kids want. I don't know what, I'm lost. And once again, I've had this kind of calendar as well. It's blank. You're like, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to give you there. So in doing this, in creating this playbook, I want to help you first not overplan, and I don't want you to underplan. I want you to be able to fill your calendar with what matters. Well, what is going to matter at the end of the day? Because I think every youth ministry exists to make disciples. The end game of all things, as far as the church and youth ministry, and Jesus said it himself, go into all the world and make disciples. So everything on my calendar, whether it's an outreach, small group, fun night, all of those things wrap into making disciples of Jesus. And so the first thing I give you at the very beginning of this is I give you, let me read the little scripture here. This is what I put at the beginning here, is the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. And I have a little devotion. I'm not going to show you all the articles today that I put in there, but I've put some devotional things and some articles, some how-tos, things like that you can use to be able to organize your calendars and be able to plan well. But the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. And that's the issue, right? Is that that the youth pastor can become hasty. Any leader, you're a leader, youth pastor, and that you can become hasty in what you throw on that calendar, and you put it out there and you go, well, I haven't thought this thing through. Trust me, there's been plenty of events that I have not thought through. And I went, oh, I should have thought of that. Oh, I didn't think of this. Have you been there? Look, tell me I'm not alone in this. Leave me some comments and say, look, I've planned a few things, right? That I just did not think that through. And part of having a successful and building a successful youth ministry is organization, is administration. Trust me, that is not my gifting, okay? But I had to do it if I wanted to see some fruitfulness in ministry. If I wanted to see some real fruit and some well-designed programs that were going to reach kids and keep kids in youth ministry in my youth group, then I was going to have to be more organized, and I was going to have to be, as the scripture says, plans of the diligent. I was going to have to work. I was going to have to be diligent about it and not just throw stuff on the calendar that wasn't going to matter. So let me show you once again why I've led off with, well, you want to look at 2021. I put that in there. You have to look at last year, right? If you're doing this for next year, you're going to want to say, look, what is my year in review like? And then you're just going to go through, what worked. And those are your big things. What really worked, right? What didn't work? Where did I grow, right? Just big picture. This is big picture stuff. You don't have to get into the little things. And then what am I learning? What am I learning? Or what did I learn, right, in 2021? So review, I talk a lot about review in this because I think it's important that you examine what you're doing as a youth pastor. Because if you're not examining it, well, it's going to be a problem because you're just not preparing yourself for success, because unless you're reviewing what you've done and you say, well, I'm just going to keep doing this, and there's more than just failure and success. There's degrees of those things, and part of doing that is reviewing what you've done. So I put a lot of review sheets in here. So the core stuff that I have for you, and before we even get to that, goals. I have put in here what is the first lesson. I have a 7-lesson series called Squad Goals. And the first lesson in that is about goal setting the right goals the right way. And in doing that, I want to put this lesson, it's about 3 or 4 sheets, and of fill in the blank, and it's thinking it through, and it's commentary, and it's why is this important? Because I don't want you to just listen. There are youth ministry goals, but we cover all kinds of goals. There's the youth ministry goals, and then there's your personal goals. There has to be this connection between the gospel goals that you're creating for your students and the gospel goals for your own life, because you are the leader. You are the example, if you will, at least a weekly example. I can't say that because parents are the example. Parents are the ultimate disciple makers. They're the ones who are with their kids all the time. You see them once a week, maybe twice a week. But in those twice a week, those students are still looking for that example to be able to look at and say, well, what does this thing look like? Because if a kid comes from a family who does not have, are not Christian parents, well, then they don't maybe have an example then, of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. They may have great parents, fantastic parents, but they don't see where the gospel is being lived, the good news of Christ is being lived out. And that's where you say, oh, okay, I have some personal goals in these areas that if I'm going to teach this to my students, then I have to be living this in my life. Otherwise, if it's divorced from one another, you can't really be shocked or surprised where things are coming out the way they are, because that has to be integrated into your life as a believer yourself. So I put the first lesson up there for free. There's a link in there that if you want the whole thing, you can go get it, okay? Moving right along, the next thing I have in there is an event planner, because events are important to a youth ministry. And in fact, I put in, there's some articles in there. I put in there, and one is called Prescription for Powerful Programming. And because I think programming, like medicine, sometimes gets overused and underused to where you're not hitting your target. You're not hitting where you want to hit, because either, you're prescribing the wrong medicine, not enough of the medicine, or too little of the medicine. And so programming and figuring out your programming aspect, you're going to have events. You have an event planner, because right in there, you see, it says target audience. Who am I trying to reach? Am I trying to reach all church kids? Is this a church kids event? Am I trying to reach the lost? Am I trying to reach everybody? Which it's possible, but I think when you're designing an event, you and your students have to be on the same page as to who you're reaching, because you're asking students to bring somebody to the event. And are you asking them to invite somebody from the church, a kid maybe hasn't been in church a while, or are you asking them to invite a friend who doesn't know Jesus? Because that's going to impact your event. That's going to impact the design of how you put this event together, whatever it is. And it doesn't matter whether that event is you're going bowling, or we're going to have a huge fun game night where we're going to share the gospel at the end. And so all the little things on there, target audience, the name of your event, the date of the event. And then you're going to get into things like the goal of the event. What is the goal of this event? And, I know this is so detailed, but I don't know any other way to tell you that you have to think these things through, because so many times I didn't think them through. So many times youth workers don't think them through. Okay. What I will ask adults to do. So what am I asking adults to do at this event? Well, I want them to chaperone, or I want them to run, the popcorn machine. I want them to lead a team. What do you want adults to do? Because if your adults don't know what to do, then that's going to be a problem. What will I ask students to do? And students should be a part of every event planning process. If students are not a part of the event planning process, and you and all your adults are doing the work, you are doing a disservice to your students, because they're not stepping up. They're not learning how to lead. They're observers. They're voyeuristic. You're teaching them voyeuristic leadership. and you have to get them involved in the process. And then finally, what am I responsible for? In other words, what are the things that I can do that nobody else can do? And you're going to jot down in there. That's the one thing. Maybe that's share the message. Okay. So you're going to share the message, and that is the one thing you can do. And so planning events are the bread and butter, if you will, of youth ministry, but a well-planned event is very different from a throw it on the calendar event. A well thought through event is far better than I thought about it for 30 seconds, or I saw it on TV, or I saw it on the internet, and we're going to have that event. It's two entirely different things. So if you have any questions about event planning, be happy to answer those questions for you. Just drop them there in the comments. If you're watching this in the future, leave me some comments down below. Would love to hear if you have any questions about events. So let's move on. So let's talk about, you get the calendar. So in each of these sections, you're going to see there's an event, which you can, once again, print this off and organize it how you see fit. You can fill up a binder with all of this information and put the cover on the front, because why not? Because you want to walk around with this thing because you want people to say, hey, that youth pastor, they got a plan. Look at that guy, look at that girl. They got a plan. They got a playbook. They have things in there. They're organized. They look like they know what they're doing. And which, by the way, being organized can maybe lead to a raise. You don't know. But you're going to get January through December, January 2022. And you notice that on there, I put my January goals. So yes, it all kind of bleeds together because I set you up at the beginning with setting goals. And then maybe you have very specific goals for January. We'll write those goals down. Maybe it's getting to know certain kids. Maybe it's about reaching a certain number of kids. Maybe your goals are your personal goals, right? I'm going to read through the book of John. Whatever that is, it's there for you to, whatever that is, whatever God lays upon your heart, you're going to go ahead and you're going to write down those goals, right? Those are God goals that you're putting forth. And yes, there are your goals. There are goals that you say, hey, there's just some things I want to accomplish that I want to do as part of life or ministry. And once again, life is not divorced from ministry. It's all integrated in that. But it's okay to have personal goals, by the way. Everything doesn't, I know so many times that I was so deep in youth ministry that I couldn't see my own life, and it's important to have personal goals. Okay, January, put down your goals. And once again, let me just say this, that I'm assuming, and I don't think it's a great stretch, I know many of you pray, you read scripture, you worship, you have your relationship with Jesus. All of that goes into play of a successful youth ministry. You as an individual, as the leader, your life in Christ is right. Got to be somewhat together. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you are the living example of that amongst your teens. You're going in, fully loaded, if you will. That you're saying, look, I don't have it all together, but at least I have those things together. So it's assuming that you're going to pray over your events, pray over your calendar, think about what you're going to do. So I don't want you to think this is just completely a separate exercise. Once again, it is integrated into the whole process. Okay. So you're going to get the calendars. You're going to get a weekly planner. Once again, there are, let's see, 52 of these, 12. No, there's 12. And, you can make as many copies as you want. I think there's one copy in there. You can make as many copies of that as you want. And once again, it goes back to, weekly goals, daily goals, monthly goals. What are my priorities? Can I tell you something? Making your priorities, what's a priority? Is it playing Fortnite for 3 hours with these kids? Or is it making contact with some kids that haven't been in your ministry for a while? That's something you got to think about. Those are priorities because it goes into the success of your youth ministry, who's showing up. If playing Fortnite with those kids is super important because maybe those kids haven't been in a while, then boom, you got connection. You got the thing going on, okay? So you have your weekly planners in there. Make as many copies as you need of that. Then you got a monthly to do. And I think this is so critically important because if you don't know what you're doing from month to month, and you can go advance, right? You can just make copies of all your calendars, put them in your binder, and then set your monthly goals where you want to be and all that. But there's things you got to do, I find, in a youth pastor's life. There's things I got to talk to my pastor about. That's important. There's things that he has to tell you and things that you have to tell him or her because of events or things that you're doing, right? You got to, what students am I looking at for student leadership possibilities? You know, what do I do with, you know, what are my, event to-do list? I'm sorry, my glasses are fogged up. My event to-do list, um, that you say, look, there's some things. I have an event planned this month. Now, what is the order of things I got to do? Well, I got to rent the van. I got to order 1,000 ping pong balls from Amazon, right? Whatever that is, you've got to organize your month. So you're going to get a monthly to do. You get 12 of those in there. You don't even have to, you're not creating them yourselves. You don't have to print the same thing. I've printed it all together. You print it out and it's done for you. Next, you have month in review. So we go back to like we did in what you did for 2021. You're saying, look, what worked for this month? What didn't work? Where did I grow this month? Right? You're reviewing. Review is so important. I loved it. I can't remember who said it, but the unexamined life is not worth living. But I believe the unexamined youth ministry is not worth doing, because if you're not reviewing what you've done, if it's worth doing, it's worth reviewing. Okay. So go into the review and say, look, how did I feel about this? What happened this month? What didn't work? And that could be something from, hey, some kid got his feelings hurt at this event. The retreat did not go as planned as well. Whose responsibility was that? Well, first of all, it's your responsibility, right? You're the youth leader, so everything falls to you. If somebody wasn't prepared to do it, it's probably because you did not prepare them to do it. So it's on you. So month in review, you got to do your month in review, because that's like, I don't know, super important, right? Because if you're not reviewing, I don't know what you're doing. Another thing you need to look at is, where did I spend my money, time, and resources this month, right? Where did I spend my money, time, and resources this month? And this is just a little bar graph for you, right? How much did you spend on just pure fellowship? And once again, some of these cross over, okay? Some of these cross over, right? It can be fellowship and discipleship. It can be evangelism and service. It can be all those things. But where did you put your money? Because if you find that where you're spending your money may or may not be a good idea. If you put a bunch of money into fellowship and say, okay, well, we've put in this quarter, maybe, or this month, we put a bunch of money into fellowship, but nobody was showing up to it. Well, what is that saying, right? What is that communicating about your youth ministry? You have to be able to say, am I doing right by the budget? Because if you look at your budget and say, hey, and you can put number amounts there. So, okay, fellowship, $100. So, okay, we put $100 into that. And you can begin to plan that out, because then when you look at the end of the year, you go, well, we spent this amount of money on fellowship. And you're kind of looking at your bar graph here, right? You're filling it out, you're coloring it in, and you're saying, okay, at the end of the year, you're looking at, well, what did we really spend our time on? And if you say, well, our youth ministry isn't growing, why is that? Well, how much did you spend? What was your bar coloring in color level for every month on evangelism, right? What did that look like? Or what did it look like? I don't see our kids growing deeper. Well, how much did you spend on discipleship? And discipleship could be, hey, I spent $200 at Taco Bell for the month because I took a bunch of kids out every week to sit and share the gospel with them, or talk about things, or whatever it is. You decide that, but this type of review is important if you want to know where you're spending your money. Okay, moving right along. My friend Justin Nava allowed me to put this in the book. It's something he uses with Mr. Church Marketer, and it's called Beastly, and it's a social media thing, template, if you will, to be able to say, well, what kind of information do I need to be posting on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever it is, wherever you're posting at? What does that look like? What should I be posting on a weekly basis? And what I give you then is, after that, I give you a calendar. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, especially when you go back to your events, when do I need to really put information out there? Am I going to put a slow, steady stream, or am I going to just spend a bunch of time saying, hey guys, don't have any signups, but hey, we're having this event tonight. And you put all the social media. But if you plan your social media calendar correctly, well, you're going to do a lot better. So moving right along, I put in here what I call message map sample. So basically, I put a little map here where it's called mind mapping in the official sense, where you put a thought in the middle. And in this, as far as your message goes, I put the prodigal son. So that is the center story that you're going to be focused on, is the prodigal son. And then I put the main characters. I put the father, the brother, the friends, and the son, let's say. And each of those, I have little words next to them. Where do I want to focus on? So like the father was forgiving, patient, extravagant, and loving. So those are 4 words that I want to focus on in my message. So it gives you a template. And once again, however you create your message, however you do those things, that is your deal. There's no one way better than the other. This is simply a format that if you've never tried before, you can use it. And I would love to hear about whether it works for you. It has worked for me in the past, and I think it's just and this sample, by the way, is in the book. So it gives you the sample and then the blank pages, so you can make as many copies of as you want there. And as we move along, we talk about student leadership. And we talk about the fact, and I have several articles in there. Some of the articles, I don't feature all the articles in there, but the articles in there are lead ups to using the information. Okay. So example, if I gave you this, there's an article called 6 Ways to On-Ramp Students into Student Leadership. And this is one of those charts you can use. So, and like the planning, there's an article called 11 Most Important Weeks in Your Ministry. And I give you the 11 weeks that I think that are important to me. Your 11 weeks may different, but I put down what was important to me in my ministry, my 11 weeks. So you have all those articles, and then you have the student leadership chart, which leads into that. You say, okay, who is the student? What kind of skills, abilities do they have? And where would they fit for ministry? Where can I place them? Or what ministry can I create where I can fit them in? Because students, I believe, want to be involved in ministry. They want to do. They don't want to just sit and listen to you or me talk about doing it. They want to do it. And that falls on us as part of the discipleship process to be able to do that. So this gives you a view of, okay, who's in my ministry that can do something, that can do these things, and how can I use those things to help them engage with their beliefs and engage with a service, and engage with how, things they can do within the youth ministry, whether that's run the soundboard or do announcements or whatever it is. And there's another article, though it's not really an article as much as it's a 1 page of 31 roles and responsibilities students can have. That's in the book as well. So let's move on and let's go to adults. So you have an adult team, and we talk about evaluating your teams. Okay. And part of evaluation is when you recruit, well, you want to be able to evaluate your team members. And once again, this is not, in the article, I talk about this, so I'm not going to belabor the point here, but this is not like you're not the manager and they're not your employee. This is something for you to have casual conversations with your leaders about, right? Because you can talk about things like character. You can talk about skills. What can I equip you to do? What skills do you need that I can help you with? This isn't about, I'm way up here and you're way down here. This is a collaboration to be able to help your adult leaders and your students, because I have one for student leaders and one for adult leaders. And you talk about your goals, right? Do you have any goals in youth ministry? Is there a particular student you're trying to reach? Is there a task within the ministry that you have lead a small group? Are there more students that you want involved in your ministry? And then there's growth. Where can I help you grow as a leader? Where can I help you grow as a student leader? Where can I help you do? And those are notes for you. This is not commentary on them. This is not, I'm looking at my life way up here and looking at your life. This is a discipleship role that you have between your adult leaders and your student leaders. And these evaluation forms aren't there to sit there like a performance review. You're sitting there and saying, look, we're collaborating. In fact, these may be notes that you take by yourself, but this paper never appears anywhere. It's not even on the table. You've taken them out to lunch somewhere, and the 4 things you want to talk about. You want to talk about character, skills, goals, and growth. That's all you want to talk about. And so that's what this is here for, is to help you walk through that process, not to sit there with them and, it's not there to take them down a notch. It's there to help them. It's help you think about it long-term, big picture of what you want to do. Okay, moving right along. Almost done here. And then in the back, I have some little just sheets, like doodle sheets, right? So this is Think, Pray, Dream, Doodle. And all you have to do is just print it off and say, look, maybe you're doing a brainstorming session with your adult leaders. And you say, well, I want to be able to just hand this out and throw something out there and then let people kind of draw or let people put notes on there or whatever they want to do. It's just a note-taking sheet or a doodle sheet. Or maybe you hand these out to students in church and say, look, here's your note page for the day. Do everything in picture form. Show me a pictograph of the message today. Draw it in pictures. Oh, pastor said this. Oh, I'm going to draw that. Okay. Something fun, something to be able to just show and say, look, that was a fun thing to be able to do. And once again, all of this that I've shown you today is to help you build a successful youth ministry. That's what I hope for you to do, because the more successful, however you gauge that, however you define that for your ministry, I want it to be successful. I want it to reach more kids. I want you to keep more kids. I want you to make more disciples. I want you to be able to, be able to look at it and say, listen, I've done my very best for the Lord to design a ministry that makes sense. My events make sense. Our mission makes sense. It all aligns together. That alignment is super important in the ministry, because if you have disjointed ideas and thoughts everywhere, well, that's going to make for a very disjointed ministry. And the last thing is, this is how I want you to be right here. I want you to be a youth worker with a calendar that makes sense. It's not super complicated. It's not super all over the place. It looks like it might make sense, and that there's hope in that calendar. You're going, hey, this looks like a thing. This looks like could be awesome. And so that's my goal. That's what I wanted to do today, is simply present to you this resource. Now, I will say this. There are some bonus things here that you may not be aware of. So I've put some bonus materials in there. And the bonus materials, I have put in there $50 of bonus materials. And if you buy this is going to be for the next 3 days. The bonus materials, everything you have until then. And there'll be a link down in the description. Say, Paul, I really want this for the ministry. I really want this for myself, because I really want to plan well. I really want to, organize my ministry in a way that makes sense. And I think this book is going to help do this for you. So, but as a part of that, I want to give you some bonus. I want to give you some fun stuff. I put something in here called Gospel Garage, which is a 6-week, listen to me, a 6-week teaching, which covers basic things, right? Because the Gospel Garage concept, it's based on not the theory, but the example of, look, most of us don't know how to fix our own car, let alone fix our own lives. So where do we go when we need a life fixing? When I can change a tire, but I can't change the transmission. When something goes horribly wrong in our lives, where do we go? Well, we go to the Gospel Garage, right? We say, hey, I need to take this to the Lord. And that's what the teaching's about. It's about love and about faith and about dealing with temptation and all those things in car terms. And then I give you an outreach process. I give you team ideas. I give you game ideas. There's all kinds of things in there that I give you in that. Another thing I give you is I give you my youth meeting planner. So that's like this, like that, but it's about your meeting. And in the meeting, I actually give you a bunch of pages that are going to help you plan your youth meetings, right? Down to the thing there. You're going to have all these pages in there. They're going to help you design it. Plus there's articles, plus there's more worksheets and things like that, because I want you to have everything you need to build a successful youth ministry. Another thing I'm going to give you is since the next kind of big thing that comes up is in February, I'm going to give you something called Love Revolution. And Love Revolution is simply 1 Corinthians 13 broken into Instagram posts with little micro devotions. And so when you're able to put that, out there, you have it's done, right? You say, well, I don't have to make any graphics for it then. You can use them as little, like I said, little devotions in, you can use the graphics for your slides, if you wanted to do a little teaching on it, you wanted to hand it out to kids and say, hey, this is going to be our Sunday school lesson for today, this little micro devotion. So yeah, I'm going to give you the $50 worth of stuff. I'm going to give you my meeting planner. I'm going to give you my youth meeting plan, my youth ministry, my youth meeting planner, the gospel garage. I'm going to give you the love revolution. Okay. And one last thing I'm going to give you is written another book called The 21 Days to Developing a Holy Habit of Hustle. And what that is if you have a side hustle, if you say, look, I'm trying to, sell this thing, or I make this stuff, or whatever it is, and you say, look, I don't know a youth pastor that doesn't need a little bit of extra cash. These 21 days of developing a holy habit of hustle is simply to say, look, how can I do this side hustle without being spammy, without being, that guy or that girl? How can I be a person who has, look, I have a side hustle, but I want to do it right. I want to do it well. And I give you tips and ideas for doing that, just like I do a live stream about this resource that I want you to have. I give you ideas about how to do, video ideas and graphics, and what kind of, being emotionally invested in what you're doing, because I would want that to be successful for you, because I know there's a lot of youth pastors that need the extra money. So all of that is a part of this, and it's going to be good all the way through. And the price for all this, by the way, is only $24.99, because it's only $5 more. By the way, when this was a printed book, this is last year's, when this was a printed book, first of all, it was only 50 pages, only 50. It's 100 pages now, and it's only $5 more. And then you're going to make as many copies as you want. And hopefully this will be updated every year. In fact, this could be a living document where once you buy it and I decide I want to load something into it, then that may be in there, right? So I may throughout the year put something in there. It's like, hey, they really need that. That's kind of important, or that's a new thing, or whatever it is. Then you'll be notified that once you purchase it, that I've uploaded a new thing in there, and then you can download that. So that's just one of the benefits of purchasing it and being able to have an ongoing resource that you can have. So if you have any questions at all, whether you have questions now, you can leave them in the chat, or you have comments down later on. If you're watching this later on, leave some comments down below, because I want to really meet your needs as a youth worker. That's why I wrote this. That's why I created this, is because I want you guys to be successful. I want you to have a ministry that makes sense, a calendar that makes sense, so that you can be able to move forward and do the things that the Lord's really put on your heart, and do it in a way that's going to both honor the organization that you're a part of, right, and honor the Lord as you do it. So, but guys, that is it. I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the live stream today. Be sure, if you know somebody that needs this, share it with them. Be sure to hit the like button. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and that will be super important, because then people can be able to find it on the internet and through YouTube and through the algorithm and those things. And like I said, be sure to subscribe. If you're not a subscriber to the channel yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I put videos like this at least once a week. I just started a new series called The Coach's Corner, where I answer youth ministry questions. So if that is all of interest to you, then by all means, please go ahead and do all those things. But if you need a tool for 2022 that's going to help you be more organized, build a successful youth ministry, help your youth ministry make sense, then the link will be down in the description below. Go ahead and get my Youth Ministry Playbook 2022. And I thank you guys so much for your attention today. Appreciate you guys being here, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. We'll talk to you later.